Good evening, good people. I, of course, wish that we could hear this video at better times, but unfortunately, of course, we're dealing with this current issue of this coronavirus. And as I'm, of course, not having much to do because of the virus, everyone is home because they don't want to be exposed to this very dangerous virus. And so as I'm scrolling through, I come across and I see someone had shown some empty shelves that were where the cleaning products used to be. And folks, of course, are taking necessary precautions. They're getting a lot of water, which is good, of course, because not only are we going to need water, water is a natural detox. And if you are really low on food, water will help food stretch. A lot of folks are grabbing the cleaners, which I also want to pinpoint, as well as the toilet paper. Now, one of the things many of us aren't aware of is when you have a virus, if you've ever had what's called a stomach virus, one of the things it does is cause a disruption in your gut and can potentially cause you to have diarrhea. So if you want to be isolated or quarantined or whatever the case may be, and if you think that you may even have this virus, this coronavirus, then you're going to need a lot of toilet paper to be able to manage whatever it is that you're dealing with while we're going through this time dealing with this issue. But of course, with an interest of making sure that you have the toilet paper and the water, whatever the case may be, these cleaners that sometimes some of us aren't aware that the cleaners aren't all something that's going to be designed to be able to kill a virus. And then some people are kind of confused and thinking that, okay, well, what's the difference? And that's what I wanted to discuss. So what I did was, and you're going to see me looking down because I'm actually looking down at my tablet. I went to something called healthymepa.com that kind of gives maybe an understanding on the difference and understanding what it is that you get that is a bacteria versus that which is a virus. And what we're dealing with is a virus. So it talks about knowing the difference between bacteria versus virus and what types of treatments that you'll get from them. So whenever you get sick, a lot of times when you go to the doctor needs to diagnose, ask some questions, look at some symptoms to determine whether you have either a bacterial infection or a viral infection. And so things that we do to try to do so, we try to, of course, heavily inundate ourselves with maybe vitamin C or something that help us deal with whatever the infection is. So you think of antibiotics, when we get a cold, we may think about what it is that we might get an antibiotic to knock out a cold or flu. And we think that the antibiotic will be able to correct the issue, but not everything that we get is going to be cured by antibiotic. Meaning to get rid of or not. Biotic meaning something that is living, that is alive. And so, unlike bacteria, viruses generally require a vaccination to prevent them. And in many cases, a virus needs to connect with something that's living, whereas bacteria is a living organism. And so some of the things, we'll give you an example of what is a bacteria versus that which is a virus, and something that may be a combination of both. A bacteria is something like strep throat, tuberculosis, whooping cough, UTI, and those things can be treated or cured with that is an antibiotic. A virus is like your common cold, the flu, the sore throat, and cannot be cured with an antibiotic because it's not a bacteria. So it will resist any treatment that you have. Something that maybe contain both things like bronchitis, ear infections, or sinus infections. And an antibiotic may be able to cure those because they have some bacterial attributes or characteristics, so it can help cure those. So think about what is the difference. Let's talk about both. Let me talk about what are bacteria. Bacteria are single-cell microorganisms that are everywhere. They're in the air, in the soil, in water, pretty much everywhere, on plants and in animals. Most bacteria, including those in our intestines, are harmless. You have something what's called healthy bacteria. That's why a lot of times when you eat certain foods, you have something that's called a probiotic. That means that it's going to populate your gut with bacteria. Some actually, again, eating digesting food and destroying disease, causing microbes, according to the Mayo Clinic, which notes that fewer than 1% of bacteria cause disease in people. Some infectious bacteria can cause include strep throat, which I just mentioned, tuberculosis, and urinary tract infections, UTIs. How is a bacterial infection treated? We take a prescribed course of antibiotics according to a doctor's instructions can kill the infection. Unfortunately, bacteria are adaptable, and the overuse of antibiotics has helped create strains of bacteria that have grown resistant to antibiotics. That's why some people, they ask if they're allergic to antibiotics or if the antibiotics is not working, is because they may have a strain of bacteria that's resistant to that antibiotic. Plus, overuse of antibiotics also kill off healthy bacteria in your body and may lead toxic germs gain a foothold, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease and Control, the CDC. So the things about bacteria that, just like with certain other ailments, that when you have them, they can adapt, change, and do things that you don't want them to do, especially if they're harmful. But you also can't make the antibiotic, it's not going to make the distinction between good bacteria and bad bacteria, and may ultimately kill bad bacteria as well. So somehow, although you have good bacteria that you need to have in your gut, you may be able to find a way to be able to get that bacteria back into your system so that you can have a healthy system to be able to digest your food properly. Of course, because most of your immune system is in your gut, so you want to make sure that you have what you need in there to be able to have a fighting chance against any infection, not just that if that's of a bacterial nature. So, virus is invading you to stay alive. So viruses, which I'm going to read, usually needs a host in order to exist. That's why we're in the interest of this virus, that if it doesn't have a host, as it can last on surfaces for about 14 days, if it doesn't get a host, it just perishes. So viruses are smaller than bacteria and can't survive without a living host. A virus attaches itself to cells and usually reprograms them to reproduce itself. Also, like bacteria, most viruses do cause disease. That's why they state that when you get infected with this, that it tends to cause issues like flu-like symptoms as well as pneumonia. And you won't know what it is, but of course, if you've been tested, you will know whether or not you have been infected with the coronavirus or not. Some viruses cause diseases, including the common cold, AIDS, herpes, and chickenpox. Viral infections require either vaccinations to prevent them in the first place, like with vaccinations against polio and the measles, or antiviral drugs to treat them. So right now, of course, they're in the midst of trying to find a creative vaccine or find something that's going to kill this coronavirus, in the hopes that once we are done with this isolation and all of these things that are taking precautions to make sure that they're safe, we will then be able to be protected from this coronavirus. Now, coronavirus, although, again, they're stating how dangerous it is, those of us who have healthy immune systems may have a better fighting chance against what it is that it can cause. Those that we need to be concerned about are those like our children as well as the elderly. We have to keep a close eye watch on them. That's why it's good to be able to keep our surfaces clear from anything that could be causing a problem with this coronavirus. So, how is a viral infection treated? Antiviral drugs developed largely in response to the AIDS pandemic do not destroy the virus but inhibit its development. Antiviral also are available to treat some illnesses like the herpes simplex virus, the flu, and shingles, according to the medical news today. Antibiotics are not effective against viruses. The Centers for Disease Control and other health organizations now recommend against using antibiotics unless there is clear evidence of a bacterial infection. So you have to be examined from a doctor to be able to know what the difference is. Most viral infections tend to resolve on their own without treatment, and so any treatment generally is aimed at providing relief from symptoms like pain, fever, and cough. So, with that being said, you know that these are spread. When you hear people cough, you don't know what they have. Of course, you want them to cover their mouth, and you probably want to distance yourself from them. I hate to say this, but you know, if you think that you may feel like you may have something, maybe you need to probably abstain from kissing, having sex with your partner, because you can also pass the virus that way. I mean, we knew about that when we were talking about AIDS. When AIDS first came out, we didn't know anything about it, but we found out that with that type of contact, that can happen. Also, with contaminated surfaces, that's why, again, everybody's buying these cleaners, food and water. Now, talking about the cleaners, some of the cleaners that you get may say that it kills 99.9% of germs on the surface. Typically, that's like how Lysol and how bleach does. But if you get a cleaner, as one similar that I have here, says kills 99% of bacteria. Didn't say viruses, it says bacteria. So make sure, I will show it to you, but I don't want to advertise these companies, but make sure you get one that kills the viruses. Lysol clearly has on the back of it, I did a video about this, it says in the back, it clears the human coronavirus. If it doesn't state that it clears that virus, you're buying these cleaners and they're not doing you any good. So you're going to have a clean surface, but you may still have living viral cells on the surface that can potentially infect people. So make sure you're careful and buy what it is that you need. By all means, if you're feeling sick, whatever the case may be, go see a doctor. Let the doctor examine you. The doctor has ability to be able to check you, to be able to make the distinction of whether or not you have a viral infection or bacterial infection. Sometimes they may not know, but there's some tests that they can run. They'll take some samples of some sort to get you or test you to see what it is that you have. So you make sure you get the proper treatment. So I don't want to run through this video too long. I'm just trying to make the distinction and understanding that what it is you may have. If it's a bacterial infection, anything that you treat for viruses is not going to work. If it's a viral infection, you need to get something that's going to treat and target that virus. And typically viruses, of course, will run the course and then they'll be done. So let's make sure that we stay safe. Let's wash our hands every time we use them, at least 20 seconds. If you don't know what 20 seconds is, count while you're washing your hands. That way you're protecting yourself. Make sure you're not touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, or any area that you can potentially get infected, so that you can protect yourself against this coronavirus, and so that we can all get over this and get past this and go back to our normal lives as we are used to them. This Energized Coach coming to you with a tip on what it is that you can do to protect yourself against this issue regarding the coronavirus, making sure that you're probably prepared and that you do whatever is necessary. You need to fast, eat properly, detox, and do whatever is necessary to be able to protect yourself so that you can have a healthy immune system and you do not get heavily impacted if you do indeed get infected with the coronavirus. Hoping that you stay healthy, stay happy, and do what is never, and live a happy and prosperous life. This is Energized Coach. I love you. Peace.